And I'm live. That is pretty cool. Today is 4th of February 2026, Wednesday, and let's start working on the chess website finally. And yep, so we are going to build a chess website, and before actually doing anything, we need to decide a few things, which I at this point have not decided anything. So let's do it right now. What is the stack? The stack Before the stack, what do we need? We need a front end, something for the front end, something for the back end, and database, something for the database. Yep, and I don't know why I put a rectangle around this, but yep, these are the things required for the front end. We can just use React. We will not use Next. We can just use React. And for routing and everything, we can use React Router DOM within React. So, yep, React is going to be sufficient. Then for backend, we can use Express, or if we were going to use Next, we would be using Next's own API for writing a backend, but here we will use Express. It is fine. And for routing on the Express, there must be some ways for routing on the Express side. And for database, we will use some free Postgres. I think the spelling is correct. PostgreSQL. PostgreSQL for the database. Some like there are for sure free um, ways to host a Postgres database, and we will not be using any ORM stuff like uh, abstraction layers over the based SQL queries. We will be using SQL queries directly. Why? Because that is just OG. Using our SQL queries is OG, so we'll be using that. And in today's stream, I want to at least set up how the data is going to look like, because if we have the data set up, if we know everything that needs to be there in the data, like what tables should be there and what should be the attributes of those tables, then we can build the backend to update those data points. And when we have our APIs ready, then we can start working on the front end, and we can just spend as much time as you want on the front end. So cool. Database, what do we need to store? Let's see. We need to store user and games, users and games. And do we need anything else? No, users and games. Even in chess.com, these are the two main things, users and games, and everything else is just how these two things are connected to each other. Yep, I think that is good enough. Users and games. So for users, what are the different things that we would like to store? Well, first of all, their username. Let's write this in pretty better, good terms. Username, which is going to be a string. Yep. And hashed password, which is also going to be a string. Let's username going to be a string. Hash password also going to be a string. And we need a friends list, which is going to be a pointer to a list of users. So pointer users list, and this format is not how the table at the SQL level are going to be stored. This is just how we are representing data. So pointer to a, or just a list of users, friends, and games. Games is just a list of games that the user has played. And is that good enough? Nope. We also need a rating for a user. Ratings. And do we also need to remember a user's previous rating? I think we can. We can by yes, we can. Like for example, since there are different formats of chess and each format will have a different rating. Let's say for rapid, for rapid chess, there is going to be a base rating that every user will get, and after each update, we will not just in wherever this rating 800 is being stored, we will not just update this to the new value. We will keep this old value with a timestamp, and we will add the new value. Let's say their rating reduced by 400 points somehow. So their new rating would be 400 and with the new timestamp. And whatever the latest rating is would be considered their current rating. That is good enough. Yes, we are just like thinking what to do. How are you today? I was on the time it seems. Yep, you were on time, but I was late. My bad. I should be starting these things earlier. Let's go. Yep, we will be building chess game. And like, yeah, this is also for me difficult. Like, I have been giving excuses and not doing the same thing. This time is best. Oh, but like, if I start earlier, then I would be finishing earlier also. So that is cool. Or maybe 11, like from 11 to 12, I'm just watching YouTube videos, like geopolitics YouTube videos, commentary about what is happening in East Europe or something. But yeah, instead I could be streaming earlier. Okay, ratings and ratings. Okay, and now we have to make creative decisions. Since there are multiple ratings, do we have a separate table for each user's each rating criteria? Like uh, chess.com. Where is my profile? Here. In chess.com, we have multiple ratings. There are four categories of ratings: bullet, blitz, rapid, and daily something. So, do we have like look at this? I think yes, I'm able to see my ratings over span of time. This is cool, but yeah, my rating hasn't changed, it seems. So so do we have a separate table for each of these criteria? For a single user, we have bullet, blitz, and rapid. Let's say we just have three. So for each user, whenever we create a user, should we create a separate table for blitz, a separate no, shit, we can just create a single table with different attributes. Yes, shit, that was yes. Every user will have a table of ratings. Look, that is good enough. Does the user need to have anything else? It doesn't seem so. This should be good enough for a single user. Huh, shit. But this message is showing that is something way different from general youth. I'm 22 and see so many people with small mindset. Never see something. Okay, I'll just like jump off the building today. So me earlier one didn't show. Yeah, keep separate one. And again now it will appear. So live debugging. Okay, so we have now like I don't think we need anything else for a single user. We need their username, password, authentication, a list of friends, a list of games they have played, and a list of their ratings. Okay, and for a game, now this is good. Well, this one I lost. This one, if you go to a game, I think there is an option to download the game or something. Explorer, add to collection, classroom, share, and embedded. We can store the game as a GIF, that is, or GIF. Yes, this thing, PNG. Yep. This is a format. I think this is international or standard format for chess games. So we can store a game in something like this format of our own, where we have what was the event, side, date, round, who was white, who was black, result, shit, time control, white yellow, black yellow, shit, exactly same. Termination, shit, let's go, I won on time, and end time, and link to the game, and then the moves. But and yes, the crazy thing here would be, since there can be an arbitrary number of moves in a single game, so the number of moves is flexible in a game. So we want that whenever the number of moves increase, we want it to increase in the number of rows. We cannot, we have to store moves vertically, like move number one, number two, number three, number four. And if that is how we are going to store the moves, then in our games list, we will have a pointer, let's say called moves, which will point to the table which is storing the moves. We cannot store the moves in the table itself because that does not make sense how we would store that in a table format. So, yep. Uh, Moves will be a list of move, and white player ID. Shit, yes, player ID would also be required here. ID would be a string. I'll reserve the ID number 0 for myself. Yes, fair option. White ID, white ID would be a string, and black ID would also be a string. And what else? We have a list of moves, who won. Yes, so that we don't have to always go through the moves and figure out who won. We just know. Winner ID is going to be a string and a link to the game, like they have in chess.com, like this. Game link is also going to be a string. And are there anything, is there anything else? Game time, I mean, every record, every table that we have will have a time itself. So yes, time will always be there. Time thing it will store would be time. And do we need anything else? I think that is good enough. We can start looking at, we can start translating these things into actual tables that will be in our database. Camera is not working. Shit. 1 second. I think yes. Huh. Um. Okay, it is working now. Cool. Camera. Yep. Now it's cool. You know what's the highest number of moves played in official game? I don't know the exact thing. Maybe even 100 moves game is crazy long. Shit. Okay. I I think Hikaru played a game which lasted for 8 hours, but I don't know how many moves were played in that game. Database, how are you thinking of creating the website? Um, like no, I bought a like second hand phone for 10,000, so not much. Highest is 269. Shit, 69. Okay, now we need to translate this into actual tables because this is like just an abstraction. And yeah, I think this is all that we would need now to actual tables, for which I do have to revise a few things. Tables in Postgres, that is AI. Tables in SQL. And what are we looking for? We are looking for how to establish connections. These things we can literally store like as values like ID, username, hash, password. But here we need to make connections, list of connections. And this friends connection, this is going to be many to many. Many to many, many people can have many friends, right? Yes. And games is going to be many to one. Many to one. Many users will have the same game. Is it many to one? Yep. Or more like 2 to 1. 2 to 1. No shit, this is going to be 1 to 1. Yes, this is 1 to 1. This is 1 to 1. No, this is many to one. A single user can have many games, and a single game can have many users. Yes. So this is also many to many. And then we have games. No, we already did games. Ratings. Ratings is going to be 1 to 1. 1 to 1. A single user is going to have a single table for ratings, and a single table of ratings is going to belong to a single user. And this format, whatever their format is for games. Okay, let's see what we are looking for. SQL based base tables. Okay, that is crazy, like secret text. So the extension, creatable table name, column, and data type. Yep, that is basic. And we can, yes, specify the type. There is someone here. No, it is empty. Create table here from an existing table. No. And what are we exactly looking for here right now? We are not looking for anything exactly, just something that might help us. Okay, connections or relations, I think. Relationships. Yep. Many to one, 1 to 1. Okay. Table, foreign key. But yes, this is not what we want. Here, a single row is going to have a ID, a foreign ID, for some other row in some table, but we want to make a relation between a single row in our users table to a whole different table. How can we do that? how to establish a relation. Stablish. That is the correct spelling. How to establish a relation between a record and a table in SQL. Conceptual. You don't need a relation. Relate a single record to a table. You relate. Yes, that is not what we want. We actually want to relate tables. This row in a table refers to a specific. Nope, it does not refer to a specific row. It refers to a whole table. One user, many posts. Yes, each post belongs to exactly one user. Right. Shit. So they are saying, okay, so we cannot have a separate table. We cannot have a record pointing to a separate table. What we will do is like we thought that we will have a table of games, let's say, which will have uh, game ID 1 and game 2, game 3, and in the users table for, let's say, user number X, they will have a pointer to this whole table, and all the games in this table will be for this user X. But this is not what we can have. What we can have is in our table. Okay, I don't know why I removed the whole box. In our table, we will have game 1 with the user ID. User ID, user ID could be X, user number X. Game 2 belongs to user Y. Game 3 belongs to user Z, and game 4 belongs to user X. So, yep, and here we will not have this pointer to the table. Instead, whenever we want to look for all the games for this user X, we will go to this games table and look at all the games which belong to the user X. Okay, but since a single game can belong to multiple users, that is crazy. That is a many to many relation. So what we will have? We will have a games table with game ID and yeah, game ID and whatever other things we are going to store, and then we will have a users table which will have user ID and all the other things that the user wants, and then we will have a relation table, games X users, which will be a list where one thing would be game ID and the other would be user ID. So for any user X, for any user whose ID is X, we will go through this table and we will find all the records where the user ID is equal to X. For all those records, we will find what the game ID is, and after taking those game IDs, we will go to the games table and match up or find all the games which have these game IDs. That is how we are going to have things here. Yep. Foreign key. Yes, we will have a rating like what for. Wait, camera stopped again. It is working now. Cool. You can turn on dark mode from native Chrome. It's wait, I'm using Brave. Flag sets for dark and set it to enable. It is Brave. I don't know if it is there for Brave also. Also for Brave. So as wait, yes. What's cooking? We are building chess. Why not keep a middle table which will contain, yes, exactly, one thing for player's ID and the other for the game ID, and it is correct, those both. And this table can contain multiple players. Yep, should work on Brave 2 since it is made on top of Chromium. And Chrome colon, wait, you were not able to type colon itself, you had to write it literally. Flags. Ah, something like this. Okay, it is here. Dark, enable dark mode, enabled. Okay, so we will have a separate table and stuff. Okay, now to write the actual tables schema for the tables. Yeah, let's just write the schema. This is how the schema is going to write. This is how we write the schema. Okay, before writing the schema, let's write like high level abstract overview of the schema. Users, for the users table, what are the columns? Legit columns it is going to have, and the types of those columns. I think, wait, Excalibur is not the right thing, or there are better options for this. I think there was something, uh, table visualizer or something, data SQL. Okay, dark mode is not one. Design, visualize, and collaborate on entity relationship diagrams for your database. And this looks better than using Excalibur. Ah, shit. Or walrus, of course. Uh, 1 second. And the camera is also not working. I'll fix it in a minute. And now I also stopped the video, which is crazy. Just one more minute, and it is going to be cool. Yep, cool. It is working. Signed in now. Voice is also voice is like as high as it can be. It cannot be greater. Like, let me show you. Here, the voice is cannot be greater than this. It is as high as it can be. It can be low, but it cannot go higher. And for the camera, that is great. I think now, yep, now it is working. I guess somehow the laptop forgets that there is a camera. Can use mermaid to explain the database schema to others. Mermaid. I guess it is something like this. Diagrams. Mermaid visualizer. Shit. Live editing. Oh, let me think. Flowchart ID. What is this for? Documentation. Dark mode is enabled. Theme dark. And shit, like this is not SQL. This is more like a flowchart. And okay, yeah, we can use this later on for the flowchart part. Now let's use this for the database. SPH SHA, that is chess. Postgres, create diagram. No tables. Add a table. How to add a table? Click on the canvas to place a new table. Okay. This is going to have an ID. Okay. Let's rename this to user. We will have a user, right? ID would be begin. Add column. ID. Username would be uh, varchar variable character, and hashed password would be varchar, and friends is going to have a foreign key. No, friends would not be there. Friends would not be here in this, and games would also not be here, and ratings would also not be here in this table. So shit, these are the only things that we need here. Okay, cool, shit. And then a new table apart from user, that would be, let's say, games, game ID, yep, and moves, shade, yes, moves. Moves is complicated. Maybe we can store the moves as a single string in the game table itself. Instead of storing them as separate rows, we can store them as a single string which extends like, shit, wait, where is one? Like chess.com gave us, and black ID, white ID, winner ID. Yep, we can have that. We can have that. Black ID win. Yes. So moves, variable character, game link, time is going to be there. Game link, varchar, time. Time is a thing. Yes, timestamp. And okay, now this thing will definitely have black ID and mm, white ID and winner ID also. Winner ID will be there. Top. Winner ID is going to be a foreign key. How do we specify a foreign key here? Nullable. That is that cool? I think that is varchar, and this will be pointing to this thing. I think these are connected up, and this will have white ID and black ID. But when we are looking for games for a user, so should we have a separate table, user slash user x games, where in one side we will have user IDs and on the other side we will have game IDs, or we can look for the games which have like user ID equal to the user whose game we are looking for right here. But for that we will have to check two columns, and I think that is fine. That is fine, no problem with that. Black ID, varchar, and add column, white ID, varchar, cool, and delete this. think that is how goes to user ID, and this is going to be 1 to n relations. A single game will only belong to a single person. Multiple games can belong to a single person. This also goes there, and this also goes there. Multiple white IDs could be pointing to the same user. Yes, so many to one. And also multiple or a single user. Well, no, a user is not pointing to anything. They are all contained in this games thing. Okay, so we have our user, we have our moves, games, and friends. We need a separate table for friends and a table for ratings. A table for ratings. Table for friends. Shit, that is too much power. Dictionary. Shit, okay, something is wrong with the camera, I guess. Hello, Imagine React. Just kidding, imagine the end of the world, maybe. Wait, I can't understand why to keep, and where is the complexity? Apart from players information, why do you need to use Postgres for the rest of the thing? Because it is not like people are going to save their game for long duration. They will create a game, play it, and leave. So why to create a persistent storage for that? I am sorry if this question seems trivial. No, this is not. I am interested in web development, and I'm a low level guy, a low level guy. Yeah. And so I cannot understand why to keep on. Wait, this is not complexity. This is a requirement which I want. And so that a user can go back, they can create their ID and look at all the games they have played. Like here in chess.com, I can go and see all the times that I've lost. So yes, that is cool. And yep. So shit, the camera is not working. And yep, to view past games. Now it is working. That is cool. Friends, and friends is, well, friends should not have their own ID. We can just delete this column. And a column, one column would be a foreign key to the games, game ID, cool, and the other column will be user ID, watcha, cool. Game ID will be pointing to this thing, and this is a single, wait, shit, what the, my bad, my bad. User ID, user one ID, but shit, since there are going to be two columns, user one, user two, how do we give preference? If Sam and Harris are friends, who should we choose as user one and who should we choose as user two? We can just choose anything arbitrarily and look in each columns. Look in both of the columns when we are looking for friends of a single user. User ID, mm, many to one, and this one also user two ID, many to one. Yep, we have games, we have users, and now ratings. For ratings, for ratings, a separate table would be cool, but they are saying we cannot have a single record pointing to a whole table. But if it was possible, then we would have a single table for every user. I think we can create a table for every user. We would have a table, and in table would say for rapid, for for rapid blitz, blitzkrieg, and for bullet, and also a timestamp what the ratings have been at different points of time. But this is like redundant. What if I only play rapid games? My rapid rating would rapidly keep changing with new timestamps, but I would also be like taking two more columns of storage which are not really updating. So yes, that is a bad idea. So phone, 1 second. Cool. One of the good things working with C++ is you get to enjoy 40 to 50 minutes while your code is compiling. Yes, that is, uh, yeah, cool. So on the user to be able to view each step, like at what time step, what moves they played. No, uh, not with the timestamp, but yes, each step what they played. That is how a chess game is usually stored with the moves. And when actual players do play, like real players, Magnus Carlsen and people like that, they also have a notepad on which they write all the moves that they are making and their other person is making, their opponent, their enemy. Share, embedded, PNG, this thing has all the moves. That is how a chess game is transferred. And I think if you go to chess and we were to share a game, I'm not signed in, we can just play a like quick game. Uh, 1 minute game. If anyone is up to it, you can like join right now in real time. Create game lobby. I think this is how it works. Share. Okay, I'm telling a friend, I guess. A copy, and if someone wants to play like a quick game, you can come from here. Random casual. Yeah, I will be like, okay, let's see if anyone does join this. Okay. Yep, like here is a link. Yes, I wanted to see if after the game there has to be a common format for different chess websites to talk to each other about how a game went, about all the moves, and I wanted to see that common format. Like chess.com is giving us some different things, and what would be the formats that Leeches gives us. Maybe one of you can join the link, or I guess okay, maybe not. Yeah, so that will be the format we'll be using for the moves. Uh, Here, varchar. And now for ratings, how do we store the ratings? How do we store the ratings? Maybe we can have Yes, we can have a separate table for rapid, one for blitz and one for bullet. Yes, and let's say for rapid table, it will have three columns. One would be user ID, one would be rating, and one would be timestamp, and maybe a game ID also, so that we know which game, which rapid game caused this thing. And shit, for game, we also need to store. For different games, we are going to have different uh, tables. For rapid game, we will have a different table. For, yes, for different games, we will have different tables. For rapid, bullets, and everything, we will have different tables. Shit, no, like literally no one is joining the game. That is a bit sad. For different games, we will have different tables. That makes sense. That makes sense. Not just like we cannot make a single table for rapid, because rapid itself comes in different variations. 10 minutes rapid, and 10 plus 15 minutes, and 15 plus 10 is also a format, I think, where there are in total 10 moves, but after each move there is a 15-second increment in time, and here there are 15 minutes to begin with and a 10-second increment in time after each move. Okay, so we will have a different table for each rating. Rapid, we will also have a game ID here, but game ID, how do you know which game does it belong to? Which, since we are now going to have different tables for each game, then how do we know which game table to look for with this given game ID? That is a good question. We'll need to have, I guess, a separate column for that also. Type of game where this thing increased, but that is increasing one more column, even though we already have game ID, but we do not know which thing, which table this belongs to. And since we do not know which table this belongs to, how do we in the schema specify which table this ID is going to belong to? Yep, which ID is this thing going to belong to? Which table is this thing going to be a foreign key of? A rapid table, blitz table, like which table is this foreign key going to point to? And we will have at least three tables. Three types of games. Initially, we can expand later on. Uh, but shit, even rapid, there are different formats. Let's say we only have simple formats. Rapid means a 10-minute game. Then we have what? Blitz. Blitz would mean a 3-minute game. And then we have the last. I think bullet is the shortest, and in bullet we will have 1-minute games. Sure. Legit. Yep, in bullet we will have 1-minute games. Okay, cool. And we have a thing for friends. Yep. We have user, games, friends, ratings is the only thing we need to figure out. We will have three tables for ratings also. Ratings for each rating will have a ID. No, maybe I don't know. We will have a legit rating, which will be a number, int, and then a rating. Then we need timestamp, which is going to be time, rating, time, and user ID. It is going to be a string and game. We also need to know the game in which this rating changed, so that when we are looking at a game, we know how much the rating changed. That is good. That is good. Since we will have a separate ratings table for each type of game that we have. We know when we look at a game ID, which game table we should be looking at. So that is cool. That is cool. And yep, that is cool. Games and ratings. Okay. Cool. Now, shit, that is just too much power. Table 6. This is going to be rapid ratings. We do not need ID. We need rating, which is going to be big int. No one is going to have a big int rating. We'll have normal rating, user ID, which is going to be a varchar, and timestamp when this rating changed, and game ID, which is also going to be a varchar. Yep, and we will have three of these things. User ID will point to a user. Many to one, many ratings will point to a single user. Cool. Again, that just moves too much. And for this rapid blitz and bullet. Bullet ratings. Yep. And then game ID would be pointing, this game ID would be pointing to this, and one to one game ID would be pointing to one thing. Yes, but shit, no, many would be pointing to one, because this is the same game ID is going to have two user IDs for both of the users that were involved in that game. Yes, so we should have two of user IDs. Black user ID, but that causes security vulnerabilities, I think. Yo, shit, that is sad. That is sad. Do you want to play a chess game? Here is the link. It is going to expire in 1 minute. And click on the link. Rating would be in a multiple of something. No, rating can be anything. So if someone's rating is 1,000, why do we need to store it as 1,000? Can it just, no, it is not going to be a multiple of anything. It can be literally anything. Like mine is random numbers, 4, 8, 843. So integer is cool. And no, no, it is not a multiple of anything. And also, like, why do we need that kind of optimization? Instead of storing, let's say, like 1,000, and if rating was a multiple of let's say 10, then we would be storing, instead of 1,000, we would be storing 100, right? Which just adds an extra step of multiplying the rating by 10 every time that we want to show the rating, or dividing the rating by 10 whenever we want to store the rating. Instead, we could just skip this step and store it as 1,000 and show as it is and write it as it is. Like, I'm not a pro player myself. Yes, it can increase by anything. And we will also have to write some algorithm which judges how the rating is going to change. The ELO is going to change. And there is a formula, not Elon Musk. ELO rating, ELO rating system, this thing, history, and yep, some kind of formula. We will use this for when we are like working on the back end. Expected score for this. Yeah, depends on the rating of both the users, and yeah, that's it. And who won the game. Yes, here now, black ID and white ID. Yes, I think it is fine. Black ID and white ID. Add column. Push this column above. White ID. Varchar. Cool. And remove one here, one here, and game ID does not belong to this thing. Delete this, and game ID would be pointing, game ID, this thing would be pointing to Blitz 1 to 1. This should be called Blitz, and this one should be called Bullet. Bullet ratings, cool. Game ID, delete this. This will be pointing to bullets, cool. And this will be a 1 to 1 relation. Shit, I guess the database is ready. Do we need anything else? We have a user. We have how users are friends with each other. Rapid ratings, let's ratings for users, and games. That looks good enough. Multiplication and addition operations are much faster than storing it, but you still would have to, like, what is the difference between fetching a value of 100 and fetching a value of 1,000? You still are doing the fetching process, which is the bottleneck. On top of this one, you would be fetching and then doing a multiplication process and division. Yep. So I don't think multiplying it by certain number at runtime would be much of a performance issue. Not fetching, but storing. You would still be storing value. You are just adding additional step. So yes, in both the case we are storing. In this we are just adding one more step. We are not removing anything. Okay, and yep, that looks good enough. Do we need something else? No, now we have to find a place where we can host our game, where we can host our database, pro Postgres database. Database hosting. Shit, I think I used this one at some point. So yeah, let's use this only. Yeah. Book a demo, start for free. Yep, create your free managed Postgres SQL database in the cloud. Create your even account and get $300 in free credits. Think I already have account. My email ID, shit. Okay, and it would be a problem on story points since big ends would take up more bytes. Rating does not. Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen rating. It does not go too big. Like 2000. It is not even 3000. So, no, it is cool. And more people wouldn't that cause unnecessary storage to be piled up. Okay, this would be an argument which would be valid if ratings were a multiple of some number. So first of all, they are not a multiple, and this seems like uh, unwanted, or not unwanted but unnecessary complexity addition, because like we are just storing a smaller number instead of a bigger number. And look at this shit, and bro had a meteoric like rise, I guess, in the host cloud on that too. That would be nice learning experience doing things from scratch. Wait, Google Cloud, okay, and then host your cold cloud on that too. That would be a nice. Wait, host on Google Cloud. Do you mean using this? The even database, I can just use SQL APIs directly. With this, free forever, automatically power off when inactive, no integrations or connection pooling. Wait, what does that mean? The second line. And what does this first line even mean? Inactive services aren't basic support here. No integration on connection polling. What is no integration on connection polling? 1 GB is fine. Name would be this, and shit, maybe I should hide some of this stuff. No integrations or connection polling. And so database. And connection polling describes a poorly optimized architecture when an application connects to a database in the most inefficient way possible, opening a new direct connection for every. Shit. Okay. No connection polling. Okay. Shit. Okay. Shit. Opening a new direct connection for every single request and opening in operating in isolation from other database systems. This approach uses causes high latency, resource exhaustion, and slow performance. Shit. So I think what they are saying here is that when we have a client and the server, I think, yes, for a website like YouTube, let's say, I have the YouTube client running on my browser. This client sends request to the YouTube server, wherever it is, and for before they can communicate with each other, there has to be a connection. It's called a TCP connection, has to establish between these two computers on the internet. And when that connection is established, this one can send a signal to this one can send back a message, and they can keep communicating. That is what happens in web sockets. This does not happen in HTTP requests, but this is what happens in web sockets when we have video call or something like that. And here they are saying whenever a client sends some request to the, well, first of all, the request will go to the server then will send the request to the database. And instead of having a permanent connection between the server and the database, so that they can just keep flawlessly communicating with each other, sending messages, what happens is they are saying no connection polling. And I think what they mean by that is whenever server sends a request for some CRUD operation to the database, a new connection has to establish. The server processes, sends back the request, and the connection is turned off. And then if a new request is sent by the server, a new connection is formed and a new response is sent back, and that connection is also turned off. So that is not very cool, I guess. Sorry, polling means that one connection would be used for writing multiple requests, as far as I know. Hello, you are making a demo site. I think you need not worry not about polling. Yeah, I mean, yeah, not worrying, but understanding what this means. Along with this, when I was implementing my contact page on my website, bro has a website. Shit, I will be like DDoSing your website now. A server. Yep, and we will just use this. Asia Pacific. Yep, 1 GB plan, and let me just, okay, 1 CPU core, that is good. 1 GB RAM, 1 GB storage. 1 GB RAM is actually pretty good compared to the ratio. We have 1 GB storage and 1 GB RAM. So that is a very good ratio. And let me just hide my screen for a minute. Maybe this will show some incriminating evidence. Some things I don't want to show. And yes, there are some things. I see my password. Okay, it is fine. I can just establish a new one. Integration. Now, what we want is we want to write this database, create this database, all these tables in here in Avian. And shit, why is this not black mode? Dark mode, yes. For which it would be cool to have to have a way to integrate and to communicate with the database through the like terminal. Connection post database, or should they also have a create database option? Not available when the service is powered off. Shit, we have to turn on the service. Quick connection, and this is literally the URL, but you cannot see the password. So yes, I'm safe. Connecting to the Avian Postgres database using PSQL. For this example, you will need PSQL already installed. Okay. Uh, do I have it? I seem to have it. So can we even use this or TLDR, PSQL? Bro is thinking. Connect to the database. By default, it connects to the local socket using port this. Shit, that is cool. Since, okay, okay, that is cool. That is cool. 5432, it will connect locally to a database if we haven't provided anything, but connect to database on a given server host running on a given port. We can change port with given username without a password prompt. We give PSQL host, this tag h, and then host, and then p for port, u for username, and then database. Connect to database. User will be prompted for password. Like, without password or for password. So there are two kinds of databases: password not protected and password protected. Host, port, same as this, username, and then password, and then database. Execute a single query. PS query. Okay, if we do not want to make a connection, we just want to execute a single query, then we do this. Execute commands from a file. That is also something we can do. Okay. PSQL host, we just run this thing. Name this thing to address node name provided. Now output should look like, no, it does not look like this. Select version to confirm the, and yes, you did see the password, so that is not a very good thing. I will delete this one and make a new one later on. Output should look like this, but no. So how do we establish quick connection? We can use this format manually to connect. We don't have a database yet. Host, host is, for host we write this thing. Why does it say chatting app? That is not right. DigitalOcean, open to all, shit. No, that is fine. That is fine. That is fine. I will just create a new one. This does not work. PSQL, this command. Okay, it does work now. That is cool. Major version. Okay, I think so. How to see databases in SQL. How to see databases in SQL. Wait, I think that is a not SQL specific thing, but a database specific thing. Postgres command. Select date name from this using PSQL. Using a SQL structure within the PSQL prompt, you can also execute a standard SQL query to retrieve database names from the system catalog. PG database. Okay, share. Cool. Select date name from PG database. Now we want to create a database. Connect, open a terminal and command prompt, connect to our Postgres server. with privileges, create database, my database. We'll call it chess. Cool. And I think now we say use database chess. Okay, no. Create database this. Uh, how to select a database in Postgres and create tables. What are these kind of commands? List available databases hyphen l backslash l. That is cool. Okay. Yes. Enter your password when prompted. The prompt will change from S to this. Okay. Later on. Connect to a specific C and database name. We are connected. Let's create a like sample table. Create table. How do we actually create a table? I don't remember the syntax. PostgreSQL or SQL. Okay, I agree. Unless you need to have tens of thousands of rewrite per second or need write operations happen very fast. That won't really be a bottleneck on web connection. Yes. Yeah, we don't remember SQL. We can just look it up whenever we want. Connection is the biggest bottleneck. So unless any of the operations is taking more than this millisecond, I don't think it should be a much of a problem. These are arbitrary numbers that I've found. Okay. Yes, it is hyphen L. Select command, select table, creating table. Shit, synopsis is crazy. Like totally readable. W3 school. Create table, the thing, the type, the thing, the type. Okay. Wait, maybe we can even copy the thing from here. Duplicate table. No. What is group? Tables. Shit, I messed up. I actually messed up. Yes, no. Let's create the users table ID, username, password. Wait, yes. Syntax again. Create table users and it is going to have a ID which is going to be int. Int I think is cool. And how do we say that it is a primary key? Insert into table primary in SQL. Just write primary key later on. Okay. Primary key ID and user name small varchar hash password, varchar, this and this. Cool. We have our users table created and list tables. So tables. Shit. Problem tables and post degree. How to print all the tables? DT. Cool. We just have users now. Okay. Now we also need friends, and this is going to be a foreign key. I guess we just write foreign key. Well, multiple columns. Huh? Primary key is the combination of these two. Yes. Uh, combination. This is super key. Specify foreign key in SQL. For primary key, we just literally write primary key after the column. While creating table. Primary key is this, and foreign key, person ID is foreign key, which references persons, tables, person ID, something like this. Okay, create table, friends, uh, user one will be a, wait, what is the type? ID is int, which makes sense. ID is int. Foreign key is user one. I think this is how it was. Foreign key with these braces references person's ID, that user one is a foreign key which references users bracket ID. Shit. And I did mess up. Shit. Delete table. How to delete a table? Shit. Drop table, I think is, yeah, drop table. Drop friends. Drop table. Cool. And DL DT, display tables or something like that. Create table friends where we have user one, which has n, user two, which is also n, foreign key, user one, references, user ID, and foreign key, user two, references, user ID also. Okay, that is something is wrong. Users users does not exist makes sense. Okay, display table. We now have two tables, users and friends. That is pretty cool. And now one for games, rapid games, and yes, let's rename these to actually say games. ID moves is going to be a varchar, but how do we say this varchar is going to be very big? Um, big text in SQL, big text. We can just parse the text later on. Varchar max 2 GB is crazy. Text is cool. Text is cool. Variable length type designed for storing large blocks of non-Unicode text such as articles, content. A model variable length for large Unicode texts. Glob, short for variable. 65,000 bytes. 65,000 bytes. If we are saying, let's say, just in case, one move is taking up 10 bytes. Just in case, which it is not going to take up. 10 bytes mean 10 characters. One move does not take 10 characters to be shown, displayed, or something. Still, using text, we would be able to show 65,000 moves, which is quite a bit of moves. So yeah, text is cool. Text is cool. Text. Yep. Game link. Timestamp. Winner ID. Black ID. All these IDs are going to be ints. Winner ID int. Okay. Create table. Rapid games. ID int. Primary key int primary key, and moves is going to be text. Moves text game link time game link. Game link is not going to be greater than varchar 255, then 255 bytes probably. Winner ID int white ID int black ID int, and yep, that is it. Timestamp. Yep, timestamp is a valid data type. Now for foreign keys. Foreign key winner ID is going to be a foreign key. Uh, References, users ID, and foreign key white ID. References, users ID, and then foreign key black ID. References, users ID, and that is about it. Yep, the foreign keys and table is created. Now the same table, literally legit the same table for other games, and this is very slow. This like The cursor has to go up. Yes. I cannot use the up arrow. If I do use the up arrow, it goes to the above command. Or I can just rewrite the whole thing again. It seems faster. Create table bullet games ID in primary key moves text game link varchar 255 winner ID int white ID int black ID int time timestamp and then foreign keys white ID is a foreign key references users ID and foreign key winner ID references users ID again and then the last foreign key black ID also references users ID. Cool. And now the last table for this create table bullet blitz. Blitz is with a Z games ID and primary key moves text game link varchar 255 winner ID and white ID and check small d and small d. Yes, that is a funny thing to say. Int and then the foreign keys, no timestamp. Foreign keys, white ID, references, users, ID, yep, foreign key, black ID, references, users, ID, and then foreign key, winner ID, references, users, ID. And cool, we have created these three tables for games. And now these three tables for ratings are the only things left. The parcel is done. Yes, I did. Saw you were like awake at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. I also added some simple examples. Yep. Printing Fibonacci, reversing string multiplication. Don't have MUL, which is multiplexer operator. While write it as a SQL file and run that file, which makes sense, which makes more sense than this, which makes actually more sense. Yes, which makes actually more sense. Let me just like finish manually what I started and shit. Yes, I will write because anyways I will be deleting this database since everyone knows the password now, or at least the people who are watching, of course. Okay, and rapid games for ratings we have rating black ID, white ID, both are going to be int. Timestamp and game ID is also going to be rating black ID, white ID, timestamp, game ID. Okay. Create table rapid rating rating is just going to be an int and there is no primary key in this one. Yep. white ID, int black ID, int and game ID, shit, game ID, int white black game and then timestamp, yep, and then foreign key is white ID which references users ID and then foreign key is black ID which references users ID again users s ID and then foreign key black white and game ID which references games ID. Which games ID? Yes, that is a good question. Rapid games ID, rapid games ID. Cool, cool. That did work. Now, wait, table, rapid games, uh, bullet, rating, rating, and white ID is going to be in black ID and game ID and time timestamp for the white ID references users ID and foreign key black ID references also users ID and foreign key game ID references bullet games. Google and the last table create table blitz rating rating or ratings rating int white ID int black ID int and game ID int timestamp and foreign key white ID references users ID foreign key black ID references users ID and foreign key black white and game ID references users uh, blitz games ID. Okay, we have the tables display tables. Yes, we have all the tables. That is cool. That is cool. We have all the tables. And what is shit? And the goal for today was to just establish this. And yeah, I think we can move a step further since this was the whole thing, right? We have a database like at least a minimum amount of database. I think we can improve the database later on, but I guess this is going to be enough for right now till we see some further things that we need to add to this. So this is going to be enough for now. Let's start working on the backend now. We can start working on the backend and write some APIs in Express, or we don't even have to use Express right now. Right now we just have to figure out how to make requests to this Postgres database using JavaScript, and yeah, and I guess creating all of these tables was just useless. Like in creating these tables like this was useless because we would now be writing some script in JavaScript to initialize all the tables. Okay, how to connect to Postgres database using JavaScript, and we will be using bun for our thing. So quit, or how do we like quit was the thing. Chess, yeah, bun in it. I think that's how we do it. Should that is actually how we do it. Um, React, we will add everything later on our own. So nothing, just blank. Let's what do we have? We have all these things. I dot git ignore. Node modules is automatically added, which is pretty cool. And I gotta go to washroom. I will be right back in 1 minute. Then we will continue on the back end. And let's start working on this. Yep, how to connect to Postgres using not Node but Bun. Yes, Bun is installed. Running Postgres database, local or remote. Remotely, it is working. Credentials, step by step. Create a Bun project. Yes, and also let's put this on GitHub. Email repository. Should I have to confirm English to German. SCH is CH. Shah, yes, SCH is CH. Chess game. Create a pan. Let's use our license GPL3. Yep. And copy link. Everything in this. Yep. Git clone. RMRHS. VD. Yes. VCH. Cha. Cool. Bun init. Blank. Bun project. Wait, shit. One minute. This thing happens all the time. The keyboard just change itself, its settings. Go to control. Okay. index.ts. Hello. Yes. Bun run dev or bun run dot bun run. This runs the current ping index file index.ts. Okay. How do we add this? cd go bun init y, whatever y means, bun add postgres. Postgres has its own thing. Okay. Postgres library bun or node.js, it will be on SQL shell. Shit, bun provides an inbuilt method for SQL. That is crazy. That is crazy. Shit. Bun provides native bindings for working with SQL databases through a unified promise-based API. Unified promise-based API that supports promise-based JavaScript promise. Okay. Postgres, my okay, shit. So we will use this import SQL, right? How do we establish our connection? Postgres PG, right? One.SQL provides a unified API for multiple database systems. Postgres is used when the connection string doesn't match SQL or MySQL patterns like fallback adapter. The connection string explicitly uses Postgres or this protocol. Okay, so we have to establish a connection like this. Wait, locally. This is out locally, and this is also locally present. Import SQL, capital SQL from one, and let pq post pg postgres equals SQL calls something SQL. Yes, shit, it is a class. This will take in the URL. Yes, that is the whole URL. Okay, with the password, right? And in pg, how do we run a query? To run a query, we await our query. Okay, await pq like this. Select all from users. Cannot find pq, pg, it is like pg, right? Await this, let response equals this, and console.log response. Query not called as a tag template. Connection close. does not work. Mm. Is this much okay? That much seems to be okay. Ah, they're saying use this syntax, but what is this JavaScript syntax? Shit, actually, what is this syntax? They are just using this. Okay. New SQL adapter, hostname, port, database, user, password. Right, we can either call it like this with a single string, or we can give the thing in parts. Let's give the thing in parts. Adapter, host, Chris, local host name is avian, AIVEN. Host is this, not avian. It is avian dot. Right, and port is 25392. User date shit, we have to give the database. Database is Chess database. Username is avn admin, and then comes the password. Admin. Postgres pg. Right, and once we have this variable, how do we establish? How do we run? MySQL select all from users where ID equals this. Const users equals this. Const response equals pg dot, not dot. They are using shit. This does not work. Copy paste pg and console.log reps. And now I would like to open a little terminal down here. I think we can run a terminal command using exclamation mark. Okay, that is cool. That is cool. So let's insert into users. Insert into users. How do we insert data in table in SQL? Oh, hello, AKTU College, and hello, nice to meet you. Roy Praj. Insert into table which columns you want to add things into and the values later on. Insert into columns users column. Users have all of these values. Nothing, they just have username and hash password. So username comma hash pass, right? Username hash pass, and yeah, the values username, let's say first username is Gintoki, And the password is password Yakuza. No, business name. What was his business's name? Eurozia. Shit. Eurozoa. Eurozoa. And that should be good enough. Let's see. Bun, run this. Okay. And if we run this again, run, bun, run this thing. Cool. And after that, const res equals. That is pretty sad. We also have to use await here. Await. We use just like the same thing that we have here. Const res equals await this and select all from users. One run this thing, current thing, and fatal error auth C. No encryption. Mhm. Okay, there is some error. No PTV config for host who is giving us this error. Internal SQL Postgres. Started from here. Query not called as targeted template literal. This gave the error. That is that was before. Right now this is the error. Server error, Postgres server error. Can we look at what we have in our database from here? Yes. And how do we look inside? Query statistics. Yes. Okay, these things don't make sense. Current queries, nothing. Connection pools, we cannot see connection pools, but we cannot see even see inside our database. That is add brackets. And this is good enough. There is not a problem with the query, but something else. No query dot conf entry for this user admin. Shit, maybe I cannot, the type of connection that I have, using that I cannot make any changes to the database. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm not making any changes. I'm just selecting everything from users. And we also have given the database. Select all from users. Let me say capital U, run this, and there was nothing, no error there. And they said here that this is supposed to be promise based, but we are using await automatically using prepared statements. Await. Okay, begin the session. Await, run this, insert, update, whatever the thing is, and bulk inserts is also something we can do. So that is crazy. Here we have given a list to our function, which is crazy. Inserting a list is crazy. For the Postgres, yes, and await, select. We don't see anything. If we don't print, is this the observer effect? One run current? Yes, shit. Still, we are having problem in looking at. Yes, shit. What is the problem? Maybe C is not capital in chess. Error. Error. And also, how can I create a new terminal on the side? V split, run the terminal, bash command there. Okay. Here, V split, terminal, dash. Cool. Let's run this. Doesn't work. Post this error from 16 years ago. Update this config recommended. Okay, edit. Locate this. It is typically in the Postgres data directory example. Edit the file and add this line. Shit. Okay. PostgreSQL. Okay. I think I understand what is wrong here. Which PSQL? Which PSQL? PSQL is there, but that is not the problem. Shit. Mm, The PSQL that is being used is provided to us by Bun. Right. Bun internal. Where are the things given to us by Bun? Bun types are find SQL. Okay, we do have SQL. That is cool. Do we also have Postgres? Fine. Post? Nope. Post. Yes, we do have Postgres. Prisma, Neon serverless, Post update. But natively has Postgres. That is something. Bun types. Shit, it only has types for these things. For Neon, so, okay. Bun by default has types for these things. We can use the library instead of using the bun version. We can use the library directly, the Postgres library. Bun does provide this thing, which is tempting. Jared Bun's author the same thing, but his opinion is that Bun should have everything a basic project might need. Keep it in the core. Keeping it in code, we can make it more optimized that it would be as third-party library. It is misguided approach according to me, or that has become way too ambitious. But what can I say? It is his passion for it. Jared Leto. Bun Postgres. But this doesn't work. SQLite. Nope. Why does it not have Postgres? Await this. Yes. If we can change this, but where is this file with this? We have to find this file somewhere. pghba.config, which PSQL cd opt home brew. These are just binaries. Homebrew, find PSQL. There are quite a bit of PSQL. Here we can like directly look for the file that we're looking for. pghba.config conf. hba.conf. Okay, we found it. Dot sample. Postgres 15 PHP. There are quite a lot of things here. Okay, trust. We just have to add a new thing. Change this thing to all. What is this? Local host application. Copy this. Local is for units. Admin connections. Maybe that will work. That might fix this stuff. But no, that does not fix anything. Entry for host this, user this, database this, no encryption. Chat GPT, yep. This I am using TS TypeScript to connect to a user database to a host this server, but I am not able to make queries. I am getting this error. Very strict, it is not TypeScript problem, but not a bun problem and not even a cannot query problem. Authentication is failing before SQL is even considered. But how this thing Postgres is saying a client from IP this tried to connect as user have been to database just without encryption and I have no rule to allow this. That is everything else is noise. A client from IP at shit, is this my IP address? That would be funny. Try to connect as a user to this database this. Shit, I have to take this call. I have to take this call. I am get and yes, okay. And so this would also be the end of today's stream. That is fine, good enough. We did create the database, and that is good enough for today. And yep, that would be it for today. We created the database, and that is it. Thank you for being here. Bye. I'm getting the call again.